Welcome back to the Timeless Wisdom Podcast. Today, we're going to be exploring the idea of divine guidance in the Quran. Specifically, we'll be focusing on the very beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah, the chapter titled The Cow.
Excellent choice. It really does lay out a powerful framework for understanding how we as believers can connect with Allah's guidance.
And what's really caught my attention is how the surah starts by talking about two distinct types of guidance.
Right.
Allah's general guidance, which is available to all of creation, and then his divine guidance specifically for believers. Yeah. And it makes you wonder, what's the difference?
You've hit on a really crucial point there. It's kind of like the difference between having a map and then actually embarking on the journey.
Okay.
Allah provides the map, the signs, the inherent understanding of right and wrong to everyone. This is his general guidance.
Got it.
But then divine guidance, that's about actively choosing to follow the map, to walk the path, and in doing so, receiving Allah's specific support and direction.
So it's not just about knowing what's right, but it's about aligning our actions with that knowledge.
Precisely. And the Quran even gives us a powerful example of this with the tribe of Thamud.
Oh, right.
They were shown guidance, right? They were given clear signs.
They were.
But they chose to ignore them, and ultimately it led to their downfall.
That's a stark reminder that we have free will, but our choices have consequences.
Absolutely. And then on the other side of the coin, we have Surah 47, verse 17, which tells us that those who choose to follow the Quran will receive abundant support and protection from Allah. This is what we call divine guidance. It's like having a guide along the journey, illuminating the path and helping us navigate the challenges.
So having a personal GPS system for life.
That's a great way to put it. But here's where it gets really fascinating. There are verses like Surah 28.56 that say that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, couldn't guide everyone he loved to the truth. And then there are verses like 42.52 that say he does guide to the straight path.
I can see how that might seem contradictory at first glance. How do we reconcile those two ideas?
Well, it's about understanding the roles involved. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he delivered the message flawlessly, illuminated the path with clarity.
Okay.
But ultimately, it's Allah who grants guidance within the heart.
So the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was the messenger.
Yes.
But the true guide is Allah.
Exactly. Think of it like a teacher. They can explain a concept perfectly, but it's up to the student to internalize it, to apply it.
That makes sense. So choosing to follow Allah's guidance leads to that deeper personal connection with him.
Yes.
And that's how we unlock divine guidance.
Beautifully articulated.
Yeah.
And Surah Al-Baqarah goes even further, outlining 6 specific qualities that attract divine guidance into our lives.
Oh, wow.
It's like a recipe for spiritual growth.
I'm all ears. Let's hear about these qualities.
Yeah.
What's the first one on the list?
The first quality is described as those who are mindful of God, or in Arabic,
Muttaqeen.
it's a word that encompasses so much more than just fearing God.
Right.
It's about being conscious of him in every aspect of your life.
Muttaqeen. I've heard that term before, but I feel like there's a whole world of meaning packed into it.
There really is. It's about awareness, vigilance, shielding yourself from harm, and yes, even a healthy fear of Allah.
It sounds like Muttaqeen is about actively protecting ourselves, not just physically, but spiritually as well.
That's a great way to put it. And the Quran offers some beautiful insights into what this looks like in practice. For example, Surah 66, verse 6 talks about guarding ourselves and our families from the fire of hell.
Right.
It's a reminder that our actions have consequences.
For sure.
And we need to be mindful of the choices we make.
So it's about living in a way that avoids those negative consequences, both in this life and the hereafter.
Exactly. But it's not just about avoiding harm.
Okay.
It's also about actively seeking Allah's pleasure. Surah 59, verse 18 tells us to be mindful of Allah and fear him.
It might sound contradictory, fearing someone you love.
It does feel a bit paradoxical, right?
Right.
How do we reconcile those two ideas? Fearing Allah while seeking closeness to him. It's a beautiful paradox, and it gets to the heart of who Allah is. He possesses both attributes of majesty and attributes of beauty.
Yeah.
His majesty is reflected in names like the Mighty, the Compeller, the Avenger. These names evoke awe and remind us of the consequences of disobedience.
So the fear stems from acknowledging his power and authority.
Precisely. But then we have his attributes of beauty. Most forgiving, the most compassionate, the most merciful.
Right.
These qualities offer solace, hope, and a reminder of his boundless love.
It's like the fear is balanced by an overwhelming sense of love and mercy.
Yes.
So Muttaqeen is about holding both of these truths in our hearts.
You've got it. It's about recognizing both aspects of Allah's nature and striving to live in alignment with his will. And there's a beautiful hadith, a saying of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that illustrates this so perfectly. He said, "When the last night of Ramadan approaches, the compeller unveils himself with forgiveness."
Wow, that's powerful. It's almost like this dance between awe and love, fear, and hope.
Exactly. And it highlights the incredible mercy of Allah, even amidst his power and authority. So being Muttaqeen means embracing this balance, recognizing his power while constantly seeking his mercy.
I'm starting to see how deeply this one quality Muttaqeen can impact our lives. It's not just a belief, it's a way of being.
Absolutely. And there are 5 more qualities outlined in Surah Al-Baqarah, each offering profound insights into how we can cultivate a deeper connection with Allah and unlock the path to divine guidance.
Well, I'm definitely ready to hear more about them. But before we jump ahead, could you give us a little sneak peek into what these other qualities are?
Of course. The remaining 5 are belief in the unseen, maintaining prayer spending from our provision, believing in past revelations, and having faith in the hereafter.
Each one is a pillar in building that bridge to divine guidance.
I can already tell this is going to be an incredible journey of learning and self-discovery. I can't wait to explore each of these qualities and see how we can apply them to our lives.
Me too. I think we're in for a truly enlightening discussion. So we've established that being Muttaqeen, those who are mindful of Allah, is the first stepping stone towards attracting divine guidance. It's about recognizing Allah's presence in every aspect of our lives.
It's such a powerful concept. I'm already starting to see how it can shift your perspective, make you more aware of your choice.
It truly is transformative. Beautifully, the next quality builds upon this foundation of mindfulness. It's belief in the unseen, or al-ghayb in Arabic.
Halebe. I've always found this concept so intriguing. It's like accepting that there's a whole dimension of reality beyond what we can perceive with our senses.
Precisely. It's about having faith in Allah's wisdom and plan, even when things are beyond our comprehension. Think about the angels, for example.
We can't see them, but the Quran tells us they exist and they play a vital role in Allah's plan.
It really puts things in perspective, doesn't it? Knowing that we're part of something much bigger than ourselves, guided by a wisdom beyond our understanding.
Absolutely. And this belief in the unseen has very practical implications for us. It helps us navigate challenges with patience and hope, knowing that Allah has a bigger picture in mind.
That's so true. I've definitely experienced this in my own life sometimes. When things are difficult, it's hard to see the purpose. But remembering that Allah has a plan can be so comforting.
It's a reminder to trust the process even when we don't fully understand it. And that trust, that surrender to a wisdom beyond our own, that's a key element of al-ghayb.
It almost ties in with the concept of tawakkul, right? That complete reliance on Allah.
Absolutely. You're connecting the dots beautifully. Now moving on to the third quality we find in the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah, maintaining prayer or salat.
Prayer is such a central part of Islam, but what's its specific role in terms of divine guidance?
Prayer is our direct line of communication with Allah. It's a time to express gratitude, seek forgiveness, and ask for guidance. It's a way to realign ourselves with our purpose and strengthen our connection with the divine.
I love how you describe it as a realignment. It's almost like a spiritual reset button, helping us get back on track when we feel lost or overwhelmed.
That's a perfect analogy. And there's a fascinating parallel between the Islamic concept of prayer and the principles of mindfulness and meditation that are so popular today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, both emphasize focus, intention, and connecting with something greater than ourselves.
That's really interesting. So even though these concepts might be presented differently in modern psychology, the core principles are aligned with what's been taught in Islam for centuries.
Exactly. It's a testament to the universality of these truths. The fourth quality spending from our provision also has this element of connecting us back to something bigger. It encompasses both zakat, the obligatory charity in Islam, and sadaqah, voluntary acts of giving.
Charity is something I've always felt strongly about. It's amazing how a simple act of giving can have such a ripple effect.
It truly is. From an Islamic perspective, charity is about purifying our wealth and detaching ourselves from material possessions. It's a reminder that everything we have is a gift from Allah and that we have a responsibility to share with those in need.
It's a beautiful expression of gratitude and compassion, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And it also cultivates humility and helps us recognize our interdependence. When we give to others, we acknowledge that we are all connected and that our well-being is intertwined.
I think sometimes we forget that we get so caught up in our own individual lives that we lose sight of the bigger picture. The fact that we're all part of one human family.
You're absolutely right. And that brings us to the fifth quality, belief in past revelations. This means recognizing the truth in all the scriptures that Allah has revealed, from the Torah to the Psalms to Gospels, culminating in the Quran.
So it's about understanding that divine guidance has been revealed throughout history, building upon itself to ultimately lead humanity towards truth and righteousness.
Precisely. It's recognizing the interconnectedness of all divine messages.
I love that image. It's like a tapestry of wisdom woven with threads from different times and places, but ultimately coming together to form one beautiful picture.
Beautifully said. And finally, we come to the sixth quality, which ties everything together beautifully, having faith in the hereafter. This encompasses belief in the day of judgment, paradise, and hellfire.
This concept can be both hopeful and a bit daunting. How does it factor into our journey towards divine guidance?
Belief in the hereafter gives our lives meaning and purpose. It reminds us that our actions have consequences, not just in this life, but in the next, and that awareness encourages us to strive for righteousness, knowing that we will be held accountable for our choices.
So it's not just about living a good life in this world, but also preparing for the next.
Exactly. It's understanding that this life is temporary, a journey towards our ultimate destination, which is the hereafter. And that understanding guides our actions, motivates us to make choices that will lead us closer to Allah's pleasure.
It really ties everything together, doesn't it? These six qualities, they're not just isolated beliefs. They're interconnected principles that guide our thoughts, our actions, our entire way of being.
You've captured it perfectly. Belief in the unseen fuels our commitment to prayer. Our mindfulness of Allah inspires generosity. Faith in the hereafter guides our actions in this life. It's a holistic approach to living in alignment with the divine will.
I'm starting to see how these qualities can be applied to every aspect of our lives. But I'm also wondering, how do we actually put these principles into practice? Where do we even begin?
That's a great question, and it's one we'll explore in detail in the next part of our discussion.
Wow, we've covered so much ground in this exploration of divine guidance. I feel like I'm starting to see the world through a different lens.
That's the beauty of reflecting on these timeless principles. They really have a way of shifting our perspective and opening our hearts to a deeper understanding.
Absolutely.
Sure.
But I also feel this sense of, I understand these qualities intellectually, but how do I actually live them? How do I translate these concepts into tangible actions in my daily life?
It's an important question, and one that many of us are grapple with, but the good news is Islam offers practical guidance on how to embody these qualities. It's not just about theoretical knowledge, it's about weaving these principles into the fabric of our lives.
So where do we begin? What's that first step towards bridging the gap between understanding and application?
I think it starts with intention. Before you engage in any action, big or small, pause for a moment and reflect. Ask yourself, is this action pleasing to Allah? Is it aligned with His guidance? This simple act of checking in with your intentions can be incredibly powerful.
It's like having a built-in compass constantly guiding you towards what's right.
Exactly. It's about cultivating that awareness, that mindfulness of Allah that we talked about earlier, and this awareness extends beyond just our actions. It's about being mindful of our thoughts, our words, our intentions behind everything we do.
So it's not just about avoiding what's wrong, but actively seeking what's right.
Precisely. For example, if you find yourself getting frustrated or angry in traffic, remember Allah's patience and mercy. If you're tempted to gossip or speak ill of someone, remember Allah's command to guard our tongues. It's about constantly reminding ourselves of His presence and striving to align ourselves with His will.
It sounds like a constant process of self-reflection and refinement.
It is, and that's where the other qualities we discussed come into play. Maintaining prayer strengthens our connection with Allah and provides that much-needed spiritual nourishment spending from our provision, purifies our wealth, and opens our hearts to compassion. Belief in the unseen helps us trust in Allah's plan, even when things are difficult.
It's about recognizing that these qualities work together, supporting and reinforcing each other.
Absolutely. And remember, this journey towards embodying these qualities is an ongoing one. There will be ups and downs, moments of ease and moments of struggle. But the key is to never give up, to keep striving, keep seeking, keep refining ourselves.
It's a process of continuous growth, a lifelong journey of drawing closer to Allah.
Beautifully said. And it's a journey that's open to everyone. These qualities, even though we're exploring them through the lens of Islam, resonate with the human spirit on a universal level. kindness, compassion, generosity, mindfulness. These are virtues that transcend any particular faith or belief system.
So even if someone isn't Muslim, they can still benefit from reflecting on these principles and striving to embody them in their lives.
Absolutely. The Quran is a source of guidance for all of humanity, and its wisdom is timeless, offering insights and solutions that are just as relevant today as they were centuries ago.
Speaking of resources, you mentioned a YouTube channel that you thought our listeners might find helpful.
Yes. It's called The Broke Entrepreneur. They have some incredible content that bridges the gap between traditional Islamic teachings and modern life, offering practical tips and advice on everything from finances to relationships to spirituality.
That sounds like a fantastic resource. I'll definitely be checking them out as we wrap up this incredible deep dive into divine guidance. What's the key takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with today?
I think it's this. Divine guidance is available to everyone who sincerely seeks it. It's not a mystical concept reserved for a select few. It's a path, a journey that we can all embark on by cultivating the qualities we've discussed today. And the beauty is, as we strive to embody these qualities, we not only draw closer to Allah, but we also become better versions of ourselves, contributing positively to the world around us.
A powerful message of hope and empowerment. We all have the potential to tap into divine guidance and live lives filled with purpose and meaning.
And as we always say on this podcast, the Quran's wisdom is timeless. Apply it today.